Hello, my name is YUQIANG Wang. My student number is 202 000 5912. Today I am going to talk about the scope of fiduciary duties of loyalty and good faith at general law and under the Corporation Act, which is my second assignment of business and corporate law. Now let's begin. So first of all, the thing we need to know is the definition of fiduciary duty. What is a fiduciary duty? It is defined that where a person or a company is required to put another person's interests before their own, there is a fiduciary duty. And in our daily life, we can find this kind of relationship everywhere. Usually, it is arising from a relationship of trust and confidence. Let me give you some examples here. Actually, it could be doctors to patients, partners to others in the partnership, agents to their principals, and employers to the employees. And it also could be lawyers to the clients and the directors to the companies. So next, we are going to talk about the fiduciary duties that the directors owe to the company in detail. So how does a fiduciary duty arise, or where does it arise? When it is related to the contracts, it implies where the director assumes an obligation to act in the company's interests. However, it can still be independent of the contracts. There are three circumstances. The first one, when both of the parties have reasonable expectations, and when a party cannot pursue his own interests because his power exists for increasing the other's interests. And the last one is when the power of a person will affect others' interests legally. So under these circumstances here, fiduciary duties could arise independently of the contracts. So under the definition, we could find that the duties are formed by three things. They are fiduciary, beneficiary, and a set of obligations. The principle is that a fiduciary must act in the best benefits and interests of the beneficiary at all times, without anything that harms the beneficiary and his interests. What's more, fiduciary's position cannot be in conflict with beneficiary's interests. So there are also two new definitions that we need to know clearly. The first one, fiduciary is the one who has the duty. And the beneficiary is just the one to whom the duty is owed. So their relationship can just be concluded simply by this. Fiduciary owes to the beneficiary. Then, based on the relationship between fiduciary and beneficiary, there are three types of principles of the duty. They are duty of care, duty of loyalty, and duty of good faith. So now let's match the name and the definitions together correctly. The first one, duty of care, requires a fiduciary to have the duty that protect the benefits as if the benefits are their own. I'll connect these two. And fiduciary duty of loyalty is one of the most important duties that a fiduciary should have. The law requires the fiduciary to be fair, moral, and honest. This means that the fiduciary must avoid three things, which are misappropriating opportunities of the business, interested transactions for personal profit, and public disclosure of the beneficiaries or the business private matters without any permission, also namely confidentiality. So it should be this one. A fiduciary must never put his beneficiary to a disadvantaged position because of his own self-interest. And the last one, in terms of good faith, another important duty of fiduciary. It requires the fiduciary to act honestly and sincerely without any intention to deceive. In the company, if a fiduciary makes decisions in good faith, that means the fiduciary strongly believes the decisions must be beneficial for the company, never only for the fiduciary's own profit. So it should be this one. A fiduciary must never do something harmful, fraudulently, and deceitfully to the beneficiary. So here, next, we are going to talk about these two, duty of loyalty and duty of good faith in particular. What is a fiduciary duty of loyalty? The definition of this, just as I mentioned just now. A fiduciary must avoid three things: misappropriating opportunities of the business, interested transactions for his own profit, and public disclosure of private matters of beneficiary or the business. The next one, fiduciary duty of good faith. It requires a fiduciary to act honestly or sincerely without an intention to deceive. And the decisions a fiduciary makes in good faith means that he genuinely believes it to be beneficial for the beneficiary. And we can also find some terms about fiduciary duty of good faith under Corporation Act. So because fiduciary duties of loyalty and good faith are important for the directors and the company, they are old too. So we can find the requirements of the duties in both general law and the Corporations Act. First, at general law, directors who owe fiduciary duties should follow as below. They should or they must act in good faith in the interests of the company. They use powers for a proper purpose. They avoid conflicts of interests. And they exercise care, skill, and diligence. But what if a breach of fiduciary duties of loyalty and good faith at general law? The most common remedies are here: injunctions, rescissions of contracts, account for profits, compensation, and constructive trust. The first one, injunctions, means restraining the fiduciary from committing a breach. Rescission of contracts means the cancellation of the contracts. And account of profits requires the fiduciary to surrender profits to a company. And damages and compensation just requires the fiduciary to recover the loss suffered by the beneficiary. And the last one, constructive trust, requires the fiduciary to hold property on trust for the benefit of another party. So this one, we often use this one where a fiduciary has stolen or misappropriated property or obtained a business opportunity intended for the beneficiary. And here, under Corporations Act, in section 180 to 184, we can find many terms specified to the duties of loyalty and good faith. For example, in section 182, it provides a civil obligation that prohibits a director, secretary, other officer, or employee of a corporation from making improper use of their position to gain an advantage for themselves or someone else, or to cause detriment to the company. And also there is a section about the penalty in section 184. It implies a breach of this duty will be a criminal offense if the breach arises because the director or other officer of the corporation was reckless or intentionally dishonest. And about the statutory remedies, it could be a simple penalty as it is described in section 184. And it also could be a disqualification order from the position or from the company and the compensation. So based on the general law and the statutory law, the remedies can be combination of those two, which including penalties, compensations, and the disqualification. So the penalty could be up to 200,000 in fines. And about the disqualification, it may be for a certain period or even forever for the fiduciary. We need to pay attention to here. In some cases, directors who breach the duties are required to account for the profits and pay compensation. What's more, they are also required to be disqualification from the position or even the company, and for a certain period or even forever. So this could be a combination of these two, general law or statutory law. So in conclusion, fiduciary duties are one of the important duties that directors owe to the company. Under fiduciary duties, they should act the duty of loyalty and in good faith for pursuing or obtaining the best benefits and interests for the company. And the fiduciary duty, as we all know, it is also related to general law and the statutory law. So there will be remedies and the general law and the statutory law, or even both of the two laws, such as pay compensation and disqualified from the company. So that's all for my presentation of fiduciary duties of loyalty and good faith. Do you have any questions? If no, that's all for my presentation today. Thank you for your listening. Thank you.